You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of truth. A dimension of freedom. A dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the capitalist corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the capitalist corner.
All right, folks, where reason meets reality, we are the capitalist corner. And yes, Michael, I just shared it live on X, so hopefully that increases our viewers as you say it does.
You shared mine from X.
Yes. Don't look skeptical.
I'm gonna look skeptical.
My name is Mark Pellegrino, and I am the host of the Capitalist Corner, and I am also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and the vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz. Michael is also the host of his own shows. Now, the shows are building up, Michael. It's not just the Rational Egoist anymore.
No, I'm all over the place.
Yeah, to describe the various shows that you're doing every day, because I think the content is super good, and I think people need to be watching it.
Well, we have here, obviously, every day, the Capitalist Corner, and on the same channel at 2:30 p.m. every day Eastern Time, I do Everyday Ethics. I also have the Rational Egoist, and of course, you and I every Saturday do Self-Made Soul. Oh, right. I got a big surprise for you. Are you going to be here tomorrow?
Yeah.
I got a guest for us tomorrow. Economist Robert Mulligan is going to be here to talk about wealth inequality.
Great. I love it. I have a particular hatred for that concept of wealth inequality being a bother to anybody. It bothers academics, of course, but it shouldn't bother anybody out there. And we'll talk about the reasons why. I should mention, Michael, that this show is not affiliated with the American Capitalist Party. If you want to know what the American Capitalist Party's policies are, please go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org, donate, be a part of the change. If you're sick of the tribalism, if you're sick of the bullshit, if you're sick of the pragmatism, if you're sick of the unprincipled crap you're seeing coming out of every state government, literally, and Washington, D.C., you want to glom on to a party that is about principles, the principle of individual rights, rational egoism, and individual rights are what guide our moral principles, folks. We think those are the proper moral principles for a benevolent society. So, Michael, you sent me a bunch of articles today.
You forgot to ask me the relevant question. First of all, somebody said in the chat, hello, Richard. I don't know who they're talking to. But aside from that, I've got a great episode out right now. Look at this. Akira Felix beat me to it. The Rational Egoist latest episode with James is a must, in my opinion. I agree. There's a movement out there calling themselves anarcho-objectivists, and James and I think, thoroughly debunked it and took it apart. And that I check it out. Don't take my word for it. Obviously, go see it, or not go see it. Not go into a theater. You know what I mean. You hit the button or the icon and get it up there and watch it. But no, great episode. I'm very grateful to Jim for doing it with me.
Yeah, I got to say, Michael, one of the biggest obstacles to liberty taking hold in America, again, is not just the statist left and the statist right. It's also the anarchists and the people within the liberty movement themselves who don't seem to understand principles, ethical principles or political principles. And I'm glad you break it down for folks. I think everybody needs to hear it, especially anarchists, and maybe you can make a few converts. Although I've noticed that anarchists are as uniquely uninterested in changing their premises as Marxists are. It's almost a religion to them.
Jenna Kleem gave us a nice super fucking chat. Thank you so much, Jenna. We forgot to tell the audience. We forget so much. Like, we're like the dopiest dudes.
Well, there's a lot to cover. I mean, there's a lot to cover. Thank you, Jenna.
No. Don't make excuses for us. We're dopey. We
are dopey. So, but let me say it now that you've reminded me. Don't forget their super fucking chats, their super fucking stickers. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this station. Don't forget to share it on YouTube across multiple platforms. The algorithm likes that, and we want the algorithm to like that, so that the message of rational egoism, the message of individual rights, and capitalism as the most benevolent, greatest system, most productive system, rights-respecting system on earth gets out there into the world and counters the nonsense that we have to deal with on a daily basis here on this show and in your own life, folks. Government provides probably the greatest obstacles to your living than any other institution on earth. They are. I hate to sound like an anarchist in this respect, because I want government. Any good capitalist wants government. They just want proper government. But they are certainly the biggest criminals and grifters on earth, and we would like to change that. We want to push out the criminals and the grifters and put in the principled politicians who simply want to protect your life and property. That's it. That's all they do. Everything else is up to you, folks. That's right. Infrastructure is up to you. Medical care is up to you. It's up to the marketplace. That means people freely choosing the products they want. Isn't that a wonderful thing to want? I think so.
It is. And we now have a super fucking sticker from Nicole for the two fucking dopes. That is awesome. Thank you.
But I think we covered everything before we can get to the news, right?
I just wanted to piggyback on something that you said about the liberty movement and these anarchists, is that they it's just such rationalism. It makes it very difficult to try to even talk to them. Like I was going over it. I get really impatient sometimes.
Wait, rationalism might go over some folks' heads.
No, that's fine. I'll get to it in a second. It's cool. But I was talking with one of them today that I actually like, and I lost my patience because rationalism.
No,
yeah. I'm going to tell you, I can't talk about that now because I'm going to talk about it later. Check out my show today. Anyways, rationalism basically is reasoning from proposition to proposition, from definitions. It's staying in the in words, in the world of abstractions, looking for contradictions. If anybody out there, just Google the coherent theory of truth. It's basically the idea that if you have a system that where nothing contradicts anything else, then you found truth. It never actually touches the ground. But what ends up happening is when you have somebody that's got a Loctite system of definitions and deductions, to try to then break them out of it is very difficult, because they say, no, this, therefore this, therefore this. And you got to get them to sort of touch ground. And it's not an easy thing to accomplish.
Not an easy imagination. Akira Felix said none of them could even give him one reason James and Michael were wrong. They were just saying that they were wrong. And that's right. That's pretty much what you get with a rationalist.
Yes.
So let's get into the news a little bit here, because you sent me an article from Reason. I'm just going to go straight down the pike, unless there's something in the thumbnail that I missed, being the goofball that I am, that you want to specifically.
It's not in the thumbnail, dude. It's in the title of the show.
In the title of the show, which I don't read, you can tell me if I'm starting with Mamdani first, which, by the way, I just read in the post is the most.
Okay, if you want to start with Mamdani, that's great, because he's first in the title. Start with Mamdani.
Good. So everybody knows that there was, first of all, when Mamdani, and I'm going to have to say it slowly because it's a very easily mispronounceable word, was elected, Trump went off the rails, posting on Truth Social that, we've reached new lows. A communist was elected to New York. This has never really been done before. Yada, yada, yada. He just did his typical, he threw out a lot of red meat to his constituency out there, who was also likely upset at the fact that this guy got into office with 50.4% of the vote, I might add. So a slight majority. Then he invites the man to the Oval Office. Of course, a prestige move for Zoran Mamdani, and an interesting move on the part of a president. For those of you who don't quite understand his psychological profile yet, you would find it rather contradictory that a guy who just spent all of his time venting against a communist being elected as mayor of New York would somehow come together with him in a friendship meeting, an alliance of sorts, where they would decide with each other how to work together. Now, a capitalist could do no such thing. A capitalist understands that there is absolutely no ground, moral ground, from which to share common values with a communist or a democratic socialist. They are the complete antithesis of each other. We'll interrupt this with this is a super fucking chat. Thank you so much for the €4.99. You both look radiant today. Sorry, I haven't been around much lately. I've missed you, my angels. Mark, I hope you're doing okay. Well, thank you so much, Lee, for saying that. I know Michael radiates. Look at that. Look at that smile. He just radiates. He radiates beneficence.
I do. We have here today Teresa Merritt Fritz, and I got to tell you, just real quick, I'm going to step aside from the conversation. She had a conversation the other day on X. Oh my God!
Did she
That's
kill
all
it?
I'm going to say.
Did she kill it?
These women are a little, they go a little overboard sometimes. Like they're worse than guys the way that they talk. Like I've been around a lot of guys that talk raunchy, to put it quite.
I tried to tell you that before with Liam Neeson, and you didn't believe me.
Why does it always come back to him? He's got nothing to do with this.
Yes, he does. Well, I'm assuming that.
No, he doesn't.
When you're talking raunchy, they're talking explicitly sexually, and we're getting.
But what did that have to do? You said I tried to tell you that with Liam Neeson.
Because I tried to tell you that women talk, and they talk explicitly about stuff that
they
men
do. But
dude,
I think you just got Liam Neeson on the brain. Can we just get back? Okay, we don't need to
Check
talk about
him.
him.
What I don't agree about with this article is it talks about the horseshoe theory bullshit. Michael, I think this horseshoe theory is bullshit because I think the designation of right and left is bullshit, at least as it stands in America. At one time, the left represented radical democracy and the right represented traditionalism. Now, in America, traditionalism would mean the conserving the tradition of classical liberalism, and radical democratization would mean some form of statism or populism. But look, what we have today are two tribes that are absolutely collectivist. So they're not on opposite sides of anything that happen to converge. They converge. They just disagree on particulars, but they've converged from the beginning. So to me, the modern right is a phenomenon of the left, and the left is a phenomenon of the modern left. There's no
problem is you're basically just restating the horseshoe theory, though, Mark.
No, I'm not.
Kind of you are. Is that they ultimately come together.
But they are together. They don't ultimately come together. They are together because their premises are essentially the same. They're collectivists.
But that's why they come together. Yeah, I actually posted about that today. Lee Frazier says that we should see the group chat with Kat and Seth. Evidently, Persephone is getting into this sicko discussions online in group chats. Okay, all right,
man. I don't even know what these discussions are about.
I don't either. I'm not in their private chat of sickos. I don't know what they're talking about. But either way, I agree with you that ultimately their premises bring them together.
Ultimately, right. And what's worse with Trump, of course, is that he's a pragmatist and he doesn't understand that principles matter. He doesn't understand the concept of ethics, I think, to be honest with you, Michael, because he thinks he can talk to anybody. So he has at once the malignantly narcissistic, I guess, grandiosity that somebody like him can convince anybody of his point of view, whatever that is. It's usually dependent upon the last person he talks to. But he also doesn't understand that some value systems are simply incompatible and cannot be married. And if you try to marry them, the good loses every time. So whatever good Trump is trying to do, if he's trying to deregulate, if he's trying to make government small, if he's trying to get it out of our lives, which he doesn't appear to be doing, but if he is trying to move in a more capitalistic direction, which he doesn't appear to be trying to doing, but let's pretend he is for a second, there is no way in which any of those values are compatible with Mamdani. No way in which they are compatible, and no way in which they could work together to compromise without the good losing and Mamdani, who I think is bad, winning. What say you?
Well, it's not surprising, right? Because anyone that's nice to Trump is, that's whom he likes. So this guy went in there. One thing about this Mamdani is he seems like a charming guy, right? So go in there and you charm Trump, and that's not a difficult thing to do. Trump ends up saying we agree on a lot. You're blah blah blah. Very unprincipled, and that's the problem.
Let's watch that change now that Mamdani has made the declaration that they will be fighting ICE in New York for everything that they are worth. They are going to resist ICE on constitutional grounds. Ironic, coming from a democratic socialist, but let's see now if Trump changes his tune, like he changed his tune with the Democratic politician who was indicted for corruption, who then said he's going to run for office as a Democrat. And what does Trump do? He bitches and moans about loyalty, like he thought the guy would turn Republican and
yeah.
Team. I mean, it's so corrupt on its face. It's so gross.
Yeah, so basically you pardon the guy because you thought he would switch up and then he didn't, and now you're upset about it. That's ridiculous. Race Jacobson, I don't know if what he's saying here is that he has experience being an alt girl or if he has experience with alt girls, but he says he gets that Persephone and her friends are perverts because he says they're all alt girls.
What is an alt girl?
Oh, they live like an alternative lifestyle. They put like ears on their headphones, things like that. Like this. See, that's an alt girl. So
watch out, Persephone. You can be put on screen and exposed
anytime,
to the public at any moment.
And
remember that.
And Teresa says the chats are going to be private. I think as the co-host of this show, I should be given access to the private chats just so I can monitor what's going on. But back to Trump, he's an unprincipled guy, right? And that's one of the main things that we are trying to accomplish is to advocate for a principled capitalism, because that's the only way it ever really works. That's the only way you can ever really accomplish it.
Michael, the next article you sent me was an op-ed, and I found it interesting and impossible at the same time. I mean, the premises of the author were good, were true. He basically says the Democrats have to change their way, their orientation to the world, if they want to start winning elections. Michael needs to access their private pictures too. We're going, Akira, that's going too far. We're going too far. I just want you to know.
You're telling me, or you telling Akira?
I'm telling Akira that's going too far.
What about me? I'm the one that posted it.
Yeah, but you don't want to. You don't want to be accessing their pictures, man. Come on.
No, but it was a joke.
No, but it's not funny.
Persephone's laughing.
Well, she's laughing because we're arguing, probably, and because we have very different senses of humor. You and I, we don't actually. We have a similar sense of humor, but in this case, I'm going with what I'm saying. So the future of the left in the 21st century is the title of the article, and it basically says that it has to approach a realistic orientation to reality because, of course, as most of us know, the left, they're rationalists, basically. They develop these premises, they deduce all kinds of ideas from these premises, and it's a world that stands above actual reality. And rationalists are extremely hard to talk out of their rationalism because they've spent a lot of time thinking in circles, like many on the left do. And so economically, they're mired in Marxism, which is a rationalist system as well, not touching grass. And in every other sense, in the social sense and in the political sense, they're not tethered to reality, and none of their principles are tethered to reality. They are religious fanatics. Thank you, James Valiant. Their religion is just government, and like religious fanatics, their faith is more important than reality and evidence. So, but he wants the left to start touching grass, Michael. Now, go ahead. And he wants them to touch it in two areas: energy, right? Climate change, because people are awakening to the fact that guess what? Climate change isn't the disaster they've been telling us it's going to be for the last 55
No,
years.
but here's the thing, right? Is that he rightly points out that they used to be, the Democrats, let's say Democrats instead of left, just for the sake of this discussion. They used to be, jobs, minimum wage, even though we're against minimum wage laws, they used to actually act like they were advocating for, regular working class people. But evidently, if you look at all the changes that they've made, and you hear their talking points, now they're far more to be referencing the race, the sexual identity of the person, climate change. These are the things that they now talk about, and they're losing people because people are more worried about the cost of groceries and how they don't have a job that helps them pay the bills. They're not worried about pronouns. That's the gist from what I could take.
Indeed, and he's calling them to be realists, which means to have policies that now reflect not just the real concerns of the American constituency, but real problems on the ground. And he believes that the left have become disconnected from those. And one of the things that he talks about is climate policy and the desire to make us at net zero carbon emissions by a certain time, a totally arbitrary standard on its face, but how much economic dislocation it caused, how it hasn't turned out the way they've claimed it was. I mean, nothing on the left ever turns out the way they claim it's going to turn out, because their principles are essentially dislocated from reality, economic realities, the natural law. None of that matters to the Democrat, the typical leftist, as much as their pie in the sky ideals. And that's scary. So he thinks that, they should embrace the revolution that Trump is sort of setting in that direction, which is reusing fossil fuels, understanding that fossil fuels is going to be a part of our energy future, nuclear, making it legal again so that we can start developing nuclear power, which will probably eventually take us off fossil fuels, because the energy demands of AI are going to be so intense that we are going to need denser energy, not less reliable energy sources, as they have been focused on. And that their projects simply aren't working. They've driven up the cost of living for everybody. They've driven up the cost of energy. It's time for Democrats to recognize that and walk back their ideals. But Michael, they are the party of ideals. Unlike the right, that is the party of pragmatism, they are a party of ideals. However disconnected those ideals are from reality, they consider them to be moral. And people will usually prefer to be moral, right? They think there's a distinction between the moral and the practical, and they would prefer to be moral over practical. So they might consider some of these changes to be, well, practical and good, but not necessarily moral, and we'd rather be moral, even if it means self-destruction. Thank you, No Names, for the 20 euro super fucking chat. It says, if most human values are subconsciously formed, and a lot of people believe in God without reason, how can objectivism claim that humans are naturally rational, or that we can consistently choose our values consciously? You want to take that, Michael?
I do. So the first thing is that nobody in objectivism ever claimed that human beings are naturally rational, right? We naturally have the capacity for rationality, but rationality is a choice that we have to make. And while it's true that while growing up, we have values that form subconsciously, if we choose to engage our rational faculty, if we choose to think rationally, we can uproot those values, we can examine them, we can keep them when they're good, replace them when they're not. So that's how we can consistently choose our values consciously, is by choosing to be rational. It's not a matter of we just form all these values subconsciously and then we're going to somehow choose new rational values. You have to actually make the choice, the commitment to being rational. And thank you so much, by the way, for the 20 euros.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I completely agree with that.
I feel bad.
Reason is a part. Why?
Well, I feel bad for Akira Felix. You yelled at him and it was my fault. I was the one that went too far. You did. It was my fault. I get carried away sometimes. I admit it. It's part of who I am. It's not something I really care to change, because usually it's okay. Sometimes I just need to be told. But Akira got caught in the crossfires, I fear.
I don't agree with you. But I do agree with your assessment of reason. To claim that, for him to claim that reason we're naturally rational is to claim that it's automatic, and that sort of that's not the case.
It's reason, a she, I believe, too. By the way, no name.
It's not automatic, folks. It's a faculty that you can choose. You can be in a state of drift, where of course you take in values by osmosis. You never question them, and of course you can live by your emotions as tools of cognition, which they aren't. And lots of actors, of course, do that. You can see by their public statements. Or you can turn on your faculty of reason. You can choose to focus, and you can decide for yourself whether the values that have entered into your life and that you've come to accept are good for you or not. And that is a choice. And that's, Michael, I think that's one of the fundamental reasons people reject reason and go for faith, because it's hard. It's hard to focus, to turn on your mental capacity, and to question yourself because you go through cognitive dissonance, you go through change, and change sometimes hurts, and that hurt makes you feel bad in some respects.
There's a great quote, and I can't remember right now who said it, but it says, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I think it's Terasa, but I could be wrong. Thanks for the super fucking sticker. That is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, let me, all right.
Well, so while you're
the quote I wanted to tell you about. So it says that a moment's thought would have shown him, but a moment's a long time and thought's a painful process. And that sort of captures, I think, what you're trying to say.
I love that. So what this article talks about with respect to energy, that we need to get back to fossil fuels, that we need to get back to legalizing nuclear power and letting the energy sector innovate and give us denser forms of power for the future that we have. He calls that energy realism. And so, in other words, implying that the Democrats are not in touch with reality, which I agree. He also thinks that they need to understand growth realism. Their policies have consistently been anti-economic growth, especially with the ascendance of the equality movement or egalitarianism within the community of the left, which seems to think that material equality represents a decent society, and that any difference in material well-being somehow represents an immoral society or a society out of balance. This has been a fundamental issue within the Democratic Party. It's a moral issue, Michael. It's a deep moral issue for them. Do you see them embracing economic realism or energy realism, even in an attempt to save their party from certain destruction? Well, I think actually from a complete move to the left in democratic socialism, which it appears to be going for its moral consistency. What do you think? Do you think it's even possible for Democrats to realize these ideals?
What I think is that they will always, and this is wildly speculative on my part, let me just put that out there. But I if I had to speculate, which I'm going to, is I think they will always be pulled back to that other stuff, toward the woke stuff, the identity politics stuff, the tree hugger stuff. And I think in large part it has to do with, what you said earlier, because like you take actors, most actors are considered on the left, and that's ultimately the ideals that they gravitate towards. And I think that will always be a part of them, and it will always pull them over, much like I think on the right, the religious will always pull them back to that, framework.
Now, Michael, it seems to me that the left holds a premise respecting human beings, and that every single one of their policies comes from this assumption, I should say, about humans, that humans are bad, and that human action needs to be curbed because it is bad. They create artificial stuff which goes against nature, and that artificial stuff harms nature. It's bad. So human action in and of itself is bad. The natural human disposition towards self-preservation and self-value is evil. And so if you hold those as core moral tenets, there's no way you're going to embrace any system that in some way produces moral thriving, because it's going to be the antithesis of what you think human beings should be doing. The left is embracing a deindustrializing philosophy for the most part right now. They embrace primitivism, and they've been doing it since the fucking 60s, for crying out loud. Embracing the noble savage over civilized man. They think that's an ideal. I mean, what's his face? The Israeli historian and archaeologist Harari. I mean, in his book *Sapiens*, he takes sapiens to task and actually says the most optimal lifestyle for human beings is hunter-gatherer society. He makes that claim unabashedly, and he's not alone. I mean, *Sapiens* was a best-selling book, and tons of people buy the premise that industrial food production and the industrial way of living, the way in which human beings produce food and are able to feed the entire world and raise their standard of living is evil. So I don't see them going in this direction as much as they need to practically start embracing these things. It'll be in word only. It won't be in deed. Do you agree?
I do agree, and I think that much of it is an anti-human, anti-life philosophy, and Alex Epstein does a really good job identifying that in his book Fossil Futures. That it's like we're harming the planet, and not that we're harming the planet and that's bad for us. It's just bad to harm the planet, and it's ridiculous. We know that. Well, you and I know that. I mean,
one of the things that Alex Epstein taught me is I used to be, I couldn't say I was a radical environmentalist, but I was an environmentalist. And one of the things he taught me was that many environmentalists, and this includes guys like Leonardo DiCaprio, who spoke before the United Nations on this issue, is that they hold nature as some kind of idyllic place. That's this beneficent space that we corrupt with our artifices. And he said, Michael, when he did The Revenant, if you ever watched that movie, The Revenant, you should.
With the bear?
Yeah. Okay. It's a brutal movie about very tough people in the 18th or 19th century living through a lot of horrors of nature and horrors between primitive men at that time. He said it gave him a greater respect for nature. I'm sorry. I looked at that movie and I'm like, I'm super glad I have a house, a roof over my head, air conditioning, cars, and don't have to deal with the kinds of hardships that this poor son of a bitch had to deal with at that time. Nature is not naturally kind. Nature is naturally malevolent. It has it in for you. You can't go to a fresh stream.
Okay, hold on.
It's not a consciousness. I'm not implying.
No, but you gotta be. You can't have people out there citing us like as if nature has a mind of its own. I know what you mean. Nature can be harsh. It can be tough.
Any good thing that human beings get out of nature, that includes fresh water from a stream, Michael, has to be processed. So you could drink out of a stream, and you will probably get some terrible parasite. You think because it's running water, it's fine. It's not. Watch an episode of Naked and Afraid. You'll see that you need to process all water, all fresh water, in order to make it clean and healthy for yourself. Human intervention in the environment is actually a good thing. It makes it stable for human life. And if you start viewing environmental policy from the perspective of human thriving as opposed to nature as a good in and of itself, without respect to human life at all, your ideas about environmentalism will change massively. You put a super fucking chat up, but I didn't see it.
It's from Robert Nacer, $10. Thank you so much, Robert. He says, shameless self-promotion. Last night's episode of 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nacer actually ran 87 minutes, but I guarantee there were at least 5 minutes worth hearing somewhere in there. I am sure there is. Robert and Amy are in my view, the first couple of objectivism.
Wow, that's good. Yes, I agree. You should watch and listen to their show. They've got great things to say. They're very entertaining. Really cool folks. All right. So wait, here, I was going to do the other thing here. Something you sent me from the Independent. Socialism through regulation. Mamdani's plan to
oh my lord,
define and eventually seize New York City buildings shows the true intentions that hide behind many government regulations. That may be true, but he's also made no secret, Michael, that he wants to make housing public entirely. Right. He's made no secret about it. But this article sort of breaks apart how he's going to start doing that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, basically, he's saying, he wants to set, what's the word I'm looking for here? Criteria. And if the property owners don't meet the criteria, he wants to confiscate their property, their apartments, whatever, and make them public, which is, socialism. So, I mean, how that's going to help anything, like the idea that the government is somehow going to better manage apartments than the private owners will do. How about this? instead of increasing the regulation, instead of making everything a burden to people, why not dial that stuff back? Maybe get rid of some of the zoning stuff. He wants the rent control, but that's another dumb idea. So, just unleash the human spirit, the creativity, allow the economy to do what you were talking about earlier, grow. But nope, we're going to put more handcuffs on it. And then if the people don't thrive within those handcuffs, they're going to then take their property. We got $2 more coming from No Name. She wants to know if you have any gossip about Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't have any. I don't know.
I do not, but I can tell you a quick story. Years ago, back in the mid 90s, I did a short film that I co-wrote and acted in that was nominated for an Academy Award. And after we were working on the show, me and a couple of the cast members went to a club. And I don't remember the name of the club, but it was an interesting club on Santa Monica Boulevard near the French Market. And we would go there like every Thursday night. It was sort of a fun thing to do after work. And one day I was dancing there on the dance floor with one of the cast members from the show. And I turned to my left and there's Leonardo DiCaprio hanging out with Juliette Lewis. I don't know what they were doing together. I don't know if they were dating or not at the time. Leonardo was a young man. This was just around, I want to say maybe Titanic time. So he was just breaking into superstardom. But there he danced with a backpack on, too, from what I remember. Nobody bugged him. Everybody left him alone. I doubt that would happen today. But and I also have another story. A friend of mine was sitting on a bench, an objectivist friend of mine, by the way. And I guess he said he was talking to himself and he said, like, I want to fight. He's not a fighter, but he said that. And DiCaprio was coming out of Jerry's Delicatessen with some buddies, stopped, looked at him and said, "You want to fight?" And meant it. And my friend said, "No, I don't want to fight." He's like, "Okay," and walked away. Two stories, two of my Leonardo DiCaprio stories. I don't know anything about his personal life. I don't care to know anything about his personal life, but I do want to get into this Mamdani stuff. He's already made it very clear that he wants to socialize all housing. And the way he's going to do it, he's going to establish a board that is going to call out landlords that he calls I forget what he calls them, but he bad landlords, let's say, who cannot upkeep the properties that they're on because they're already rent stabilized by the government. So that means that the rents can only go up a certain amount, and it's not enough to cover maintenance costs. It's not enough to cover the costs that would make a landlord a good landlord. And so this organization is now going to find these guys. They're going to force repairs onto the property and then give the bill to the landlord. And if the landlord cannot pay that bill, they're going to then seize the property for the state and then proceed to operate from it. Michael, I see no disasters with this. I don't know about you, but I mean, I just read in, I think, the Post recently that there is a massive exodus of landlords now who are selling their properties at a fraction of their cost. They are getting out of multi-dwelling facilities because they perceive that they are going to be victimized by not only this rent stabilization, and there's already several thousand apartments that are rent stabilized, which is causing several 100,000 dwellings to be left unoccupied, Michael. I don't know if you knew that, but many places are unoccupied at the moment in the middle of a housing crisis because of rent stabilization. So Mamdani's going to make it worse by seizing the property and then divorcing it from profit. So what we're going to probably see is what we saw with all the housing projects. I mean, all you got to do is go to Brooklyn or Bed-Stuy and see some of the housing projects that they built there in the 60s and see how wonderful they are. If you want to see where public housing goes and how it degenerates, not only the material property itself, but the spiritual lives of the people who have to live there. This is what you're going to look forward to with Mamdani taking over housing and giving it over to the state. Now they claim they're going to make several $100 million, by doing this kinds of thing, but they always claim this because they assume the people who are being taxed to support this stuff are not going to move. They're going to stay where they are and allow themselves to be exploited, which never happens. So this scheme is going to be a massive, massive fail on the part of Mamdani. And it looks like he's got the political power and weight at the moment to do it.
Well, I'm hoping not. We maybe he won't, but we're going to see. But
the third party transfer program was already tried by New York in the past. It was ruled unconstitutional, I think, because of the takings clause and stuff. And but they're still trying to bring it back under a different guise, and so it may face some legal challenges. And the people of New York, the only hope you have is that Mamdani cannot fulfill any of his promises to you. That's the only hope you have for survival. Otherwise, guess what? You may experience a temporary dip in prices through these price controls and various city takeovers of private property, but you're also going to experience massive shortages. So eventually, and you're going to experience the property decaying because there's going to be absolutely no incentive to fix anything. So your life is going to become precipitously worse. I'm just warning you in advance. This is what people who know at least basic economics understand. It's time for the people of New York to understand basic economics too. And if you don't, you're going to get a lesson in a hard lesson in concrete terms very shortly. Anything to say, Michael, about that?
No, I think you covered it.
Thank you. You sent me something from the Free Press that was a little annoying. I have to say, the European Union has opened an antitrust investigation into Meta's AI use, saying the platform is potentially, quote, abusing their power to crowd out innovative competitors, unquote. The investigation seeks to halt Meta's AI platform's implementation in WhatsApp, the global messaging platform. Last week, the EU fined X. They fined X $140 million for various violations. No wonder the European Union is behind the eight ball in production. No wonder their standard of living is so much lower than the United States. Guys, I can say this because I freaking live part-time in Europe. I live part-time in Paris. And I'm telling you, the standard of living in Europe is lower than in the United States of America. And if you want to see it in action, you should watch House Hunters International, Michael. When you get Americans who go, oh, we're changing jobs and we're so happy we're going to move to the Netherlands, we're going to move to Paris. We can't wait to go over there because it's such a beautiful city. And then they get their real estate agent and they get them into an apartment. They're like, this is it. This is all the square footage I get, and I don't have any of the amenities that I have at home, like a washer and a dryer. I don't have any of that stuff. That's correct. That's what most people don't have. They don't have air conditioning. They don't have washers or dryers. They don't have screens on their frickin' windows to keep the mosquitoes out, folks, in the summertime.
I hate freaking mosquitoes. They get on my nerves so much. And gnats.
At least gnats don't bite you and they don't carry disease.
No, they're just there to annoy. And I feel like when I'm walking and they're swarming me, I feel like they're doing it on purpose. It's like you're aggravating me intentionally, you sons of bitches. I really, really hate them. But back to this antitrust thing. Interestingly, next Tuesday, I'll be taking a day off from the show because I'm going to a Soho Forum debate on antitrust law as applies to tech companies. Speaking of gnats, right when we start talking about when one shows up. So now what the hell was I going to say? I forgot. Okay. Antitrust laws. Yeah. Yeah. You're saying, well, this company's too successful, so we've got to break it up, right? It's a massive rights violation. It always is. There's no objective criteria to judge by whether these companies are too big or not. There's nothing there. And it's just the application of force from the government against private companies, and it needs to stop. And I really wish it would stop here, but they're even talking about some antitrust stuff here. What doesn't need to stop are the super fucking chats like the one we just got from Paul.
Thank you, Paul, for the $5 super fucking chat. We appreciate you very much. I want to say so. I just want to say something to interrupt this talk about antitrust. Rand was one of the first people to talk about how anti-American it was and how anti-rational it was, and how it really wasn't a law based. It was really a law of men. It depended upon the person who was judging you whether or not you were guilty or innocent, and that's not what America should be about. Deeper with Diego says, I actually do not remember how I was before 35. I have no recollection of it. Zero. Discovering objectivism is an actual way to being born again. I have to say, I like that formulation, Deeper with Diego, because I felt that way myself. I felt liberated from a lot of false notions that had me in chains before, or limited my capacity to be creative and open and happy. And it was objectivism's concepts that enabled me to question those and put them on the chopping block and do what I had to do to be a better person. Michael, another article from the Free Press. We just touched on this earlier today. Just days after pardoning him, President Trump has lashed out at Democratic Representative Henry Cuellar. In Truth Social post, President Trump raged over Cuellar's re-election as a Democrat. Such a lack of loyalty, he says, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. What is that? Where does that come from? I mean, he's the king of non sequiturs, but I don't understand where.
Well, this is again. I mean, we talked about this earlier. I mean, what are you doing? Selling pardons? This guy was supposed to convert to being a Republican so that you could get more votes, and now he didn't, and you're pissed. I think that down the road may be seen as one of the most corrupt things that he's done is all these pardons that he's given out to his pals. I don't think it's anywhere near the scale of the wrong that he's doing by bombing boats. But nonetheless, I think it's absolutely horrendous.
Thank you. I'm Regina for the €5 super fucking sticker. We appreciate that. This guy retorted, I think, on the news that, hey, I vote more like a Republican than a Democrat anyway. So, he really shouldn't have his panties in a wad, essentially. But the real question is, Michael, and I haven't read in depth about this, the corruption case with this guy. Is it true? That's the real question. Did he really take money from foreign interests? And if he did, then he's guilty as fuck and deserves to be pardoned, irrespective and deserves to be in jail, irrespective of the way he fucking votes. And especially if Michael, if you campaigned on the party of anti-corruption. I mean, it's such a joke now that I have never seen the kind of open corruption in Washington as I do with Trump right now. I mean, he does it out in the open. He takes paydays from people out in the open. His family has made over $3 billion since his political career. That's somebody who is directly profiting and shoving it in the faces of the American people. And the MAGA people don't say anything about it. Yet they will complain like fuck about Biden taking his few million and getting, in money laundering it through his various corporations.
I love how you said that, his few million.
Well, because in comparison to 3 billion,
you're right. You're correct. It's just hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. It's corruption. It's everything that we really dislike.
Guys, if you want to get, I had an argument with somebody online recently. They said,
no,
not the way I used to. I don't argue like that anymore. But this guy said, we had to do 3 things in Washington. The first thing he said was get rid of the lobbying system. I said, no, pal, you got to get rid of the regulatory state. That's what incentivizes the lobbying. If you have nominal ownership over some property, but a bureaucrat in Washington can tell you how you can expand, how you can build, who you can sell to, and they generally control your business, then why wouldn't you want to send somebody to Washington to make sure that they do things your way? It incentivizes it. So you want to take away the incentive. And the way you take away the incentive for all this graft and grifting that's going on in Washington is to eliminate the regulatory state. Period. Done. End of story. And that's what the capitalists would do. We'd have to do it slowly, of course, because in some respects, people have become dependent upon regulations. But there are thousands upon thousands of them that you could eliminate tomorrow that would make the world a better place to live and a freer place to live. And it would start eliminating this idea, Michael, that human beings need to be preemptively controlled in order to live. We don't need to be preemptively controlled. We need to be left free. We need to be left free to think and to act on our rational judgment. So
you were on fire today, sir.
I thought I smelled something burning. Let me tell you this. You gave me something from the Morning Dispatch that pissed me off again. Because again, it's Trump sticking his nose where it doesn't fucking belong. And this is supposed to be a guy who's a Republican. The Republicans are supposed to stand for free markets. That's gone, guys. That's gone. If you're with the GOP, they are no longer the party of classical liberalism, free markets, or capitalism. Trump is demonstratively anti-capitalistic. So don't be claiming that you're for him anymore because you want free markets. He's anti-capitalistic and he's anti-constitutionalist. So all of the things that protect your life and your property, well, Trump is perfectly willing to give those things up for his own reasons. In the Morning Dispatch, it says Netflix on Friday announced a deal to buy Warner Brothers Discovery for $72 billion. $27.75 per share in a mix of cash and stock valuing. The company is about $82.7 billion, is valuing it at that. The agreement would add franchises and intellectual property, including Harry Potter series, Wizard of Oz, Game of Thrones, and the DC comic universe to Netflix's content library. Now, Netflix has said that HBO Max will remain a standalone streaming platform for the time being and has committed to continuing theatrical releases for films, but didn't clarify whether those would be full theatrical windows or limited award eligible windows, as the company currently does for Netflix originals. You don't know this, Michael, but if you want to be eligible for the Academy Awards, you have to show a feature film on a certain number of screens for a certain amount of time, and then you can become eligible for Academy Awards.
No, I didn't know that. Wow.
So that's why when we were nominated in our short film, we had to show the short films on a certain number of theaters for a certain amount of time before we become eligible for the award.
You know what I just found out? I just found out you actually did a documentary about Philip Seymour Hoffman. I didn't know that until
I did
yesterday. That's what it said, or you were in one. The Mind of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
If I'm in it, I'm not aware of it.
It's on your Planet Pellegrino.
Well, if I'm in it, I'm not aware of it.
Maybe you're not in it. Maybe it's just there. I don't know.
That could
but
be.
Anyway,
Listening. They didn't. Okay, so they didn't clarify whether these would be full theater. Oh, I already said that. Next, Warner Brothers Discovery will continue its previously announced plans to develop a spin-off company, Discovery Global, which could own several TV networks, including CNN. Now, Netflix co-CEO Todd Sarandos met President Donald Trump. This is what really frosts me, man. He met President Donald Trump in the White House in mid-November to lobby for the acquisition. He's got to lobby the President of the United States to merge with another company the way he wants to and the way the other company sees fit to do. He has to get permission from the White House itself. But on Sunday, the president raised antitrust concerns about the Netflix, stating the streamer has a very big market share, and when they have Warner Brothers, the share just goes up a lot. Lawmakers from both parties have expressed concern about the deal, and Trump said he would be personally involved in the decision to approve or stop it. Folks, this is not America. This is not Americanism. No. The president has no place in mediating deals between companies. That's between the companies and their own lawyers. That's not the president of the United States fucking job.
No, it is not. And I was hoping you would get to this, and we're almost out of time, so I really would like to. This post from Andy Bernstein. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but go ahead and tell me. No, there was something from Harriman. Is that the one from
David Harriman? The post is actually
despicable. Don't read it.
Okay. Well, Andy Bernstein posted. That's where I got this from.
Oh my God.
And Andy Bernstein posted that he agrees with this 100%.
Oh my God.
So, being that Andy Bernstein is co-founder and member of the American Capitalist Party, and a good friend of mine, I thought that we would address this. So, David Harriman says politics is divided like it was during the Civil War when slave owners in the South hated Lincoln. But even that is surpassed by the statists' hatred of Trump. Trump is a statist.
Indeed.
I offered to debate Harriman, and I swear to fucking God, I wish he would. I really wish he would debate me. He said the hatred is most obvious in the far left of the Democratic Party. This faction of the party advocates communism and militant Islam. They can't even speak without descending into incoherent screaming. Trump is fighting their anti-American ideology. Other politicians, somewhat more moderate, are threatened by Trump stopping their gravy train. Trump is attempting to eliminate the corruption. Many politicians have become rich by means of that corruption. Yeah, Trump.
Trump being one.
Yeah, Pelosi and AOC are the best stock investors in history. Notice that Trump did not enter politics for money. In fact, he lost money. Bullshit. Suffered legal prosecution. Now, how Andy believes this? It's like, what do you do? You just stay glued to Newsmax all day long? Like, I don't know.
Or, yeah.
So he says, what did he do to deserve this vitriolic hatred? He freed the energy industry and said we should not try to run the country on windmills. He said that the government should not attack free speech. What?
Yeah,
I can't keep going through this shit.
Where are the lawsuits against the various media agencies that Trump has leveled for billions of dollars, and then they've had to pay him millions and millions of dollars in record?
Ian Gilmore, I have brought it up with him. I actually offered to debate the thing publicly. He wasn't interested in doing it. And I'm not, I don't really want to get into a whole bunch of arguments.
Well, look, the punchline of what he said, which was probably the worst thing of all, Michael, was that President Trump is the best president in history.
Right. Now, here's the thing. So what I did, I posted to Andy's page. I said, okay, what about the tariffs? What about the suppression of free speech in terms of threatening media companies? What about the bombing of boats in the ocean with no declaration of war, no congressional approval, just your claim that they're drug dealers? What about that? What about the buying shares in private companies? It's like when people like Harriman and my friend Andy say, I don't know, like, are they not even aware of this stuff? It's almost like I feel like when people say shit like this, that they're trying to gaslight me. And I hate that term. I'm not a big fan of everyone, oh, you're gaslighting. But if you're going to say this dude is a capitalist or he's a hero or any of this other dumb shit, it's simply not true. It's Michael, just not true.
Where do you think this shit comes from? Like, I mean, it feels like to me, these people are just in the culture war. That's it. And all they see is a guy that vitriolically fights against the left. And they're so myopically tuned into the left that they don't see how corrupt this guy is and how similar he is to the left.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. This is what I think. Right. And, I think that much like with libertarians who hate the state more than they like liberty, I think these guys hate the left more than they're concerned with reason, with truth, with ethics. And I think also part of it has to do, to be perfectly honest with you, is the information pools from which they draw. Because if you dismiss, for instance, every mainstream news outlet, they're all biased. You can't watch none of them. You can't trust them. No way. Everything that says something bad about Trump, TDS. I'll watch Fox. I'll watch Newsmax. Then these are the conclusions you come to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I know what Trump has done. I've heard him say things. I know he's a freaking liar. I know he doesn't have authority to bomb these boats in the ocean. Right? I know that much of what he does is unconstitutional. His own statements tell us he's not a capitalist. So I just, because of my relationship with Andy, I just wanted to put it out there and just this is just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Deeper with Diego says Trump was a lifelong Democrat. Do these individuals think that once you change your letter from D to R, your entire subconscious changes overnight? Yeah, I think he was a Democrat for convenience sake. I don't think he has any political ideology at all. I think he's just a power luster, to be honest with you. And he has a free reign now with the MAGA movement to exercise his power to the fullest possible degree. And luckily, we have a judicial system that's actually trying to stop him from doing that.
We'll see.
How much longer that happens, we don't know. But folks, we're quickly approaching a time when I hate to say it, Michael, but I mean, Peikoff said, when is an appropriate time for a revolution? Well, when there's no more First Amendment, when there's no more free speech. But what we don't have, Michael, is a culture that's philosophically rational. And we don't have a culture that could actually pick up the banner of reason and Americanism again. We have Yahoo nationalists, Christian white nationalists on one side, and we have the commies who hate everything America stands for on the other. And the people in the middle are trying to find some sort of rational ground, and they don't understand that the rational ground isn't in between those two. The rational ground is something entirely different, and that is the embrace of classical liberalism, of capitalism as the ideal system. Now, that doesn't mean that every outcome is going to happen the way you want it to be, but it means the potential exists for the outcomes to be the way you want them to be, because nobody will stop your dynamic energy and your thinking. Nobody will also stop your dissent. If you decide not to work for yourself, then you are left to your own devices, or to those who choose to help you because they hold you as a value. Now, that's the part that people find a little bit scary. I think I would rather deal with the fear and uncertainty of freedom than the certitude and security of a tyrannical state where anything that I say can be used against me at any time. So, I mean, that's my capitalist thought for the day. I might as well just make that the capitalist thought for the day. And you can give us your question, Michael, that people should answer on YouTube.
On YouTube, go to YouTube, answer this question. Helps with the algorithm. I want to know, what is your favorite Mark Pellegrino movie? That's what I want to know. What is your favorite Mark Pellegrino movie? Hopefully, it's one I haven't seen, and then I can watch it.
Thank you, folks. So we'll be here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat place,
with a special guest.
Yes, we will. At 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. You got 23 hours to recheck your premises. If you're a statist or a commie watching us, it's time to change, my friend. It's time to embrace liberty, the uncertainty of liberty, but the beauty, wonderfulness of liberty, that you can achieve your potential, that it is possible for you to be happy. That's the aspirational nature of capitalism. That's the aspirational nature and the heroic nature we want to bring to the world, folks, and we want you to embrace. Until that time tomorrow, folks, peace.